Hello, all right. One second while we join live here. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. All righty.
Did you see your text message?
I did. Congrats. I'm gonna put my
Correct.
earpiece.
All right. Well, here we go. Another live with Jen session here. Thank you
Exciting
for.
times, everybody. Um, so yeah, I know I was advertising that Gustavo and I were meeting in person together and doing this together, but real estate is funny. You cannot really plan much with real estate because every day something new pops up. Fires need to be put out, phone calls need to happen, offers need to be submitted. And so unfortunately today, Gustavo and I had some things that popped up. So of course, what do we do best? We pivot, we shift, and now we're in separate locations. But we made this a priority, which is why we're here today. So thank you to those that are joining us live, obviously through Instagram. And as always, if you guys have any questions, any comments, any stories to share regarding the topic we're going to talk about tonight, or just in real estate in general, this is your time just as much as it's our time. So feel free to type in a comment and we will address it live.
That's right. That's right. So thanks Jen again for the introduction. And I guess to kind of cut to the chase and get right into it, what is our topic today? It is the $2 million questions, right?
Yeah.
What happens? What comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? As far as do I sell first or do I buy first? Um, what are your thoughts on that? And as a realtor and perspective.
So as a realtor, I will give two opinions. One is going to be PC, which is pre-COVID, and one is going to be AC after COVID. So PC, I would say we had a lot of opportunities where we worked with clients that had to do a buy sell. We would buy first, then we would do a house contingency, and then we would sell their home while we're taking their new house to closing. And that always seemed to work because there wasn't a lot of competition. It put the seller's mind at ease knowing that they had a place to go to. All they had to do was sell their current home. And a lot of times we would use the proceeds from that to go to the new home. Now, after COVID, it is not the easiest to try to get a house contingency. We are still facing, in June of 26, we're still facing competition on almost all new listings. If it's priced well, great location, shows well, it's going to be gone. And so to get a house contingency when we are competing is chances are less than 1%. If there is a house that's been sitting for a while, obviously we can do it, but that's very rare. So in that situation, the advice that we've been getting clients is talk to Gustavo because we want to see where they are financially. And my goal as the real estate agent is to try to be able to buy a new home without having to have that house contingency. So we can buy and then Gustavo can be creative with the financing and then we could sell afterwards, or we could sell, but then we get into a little gray area with post occupancy and all that fun stuff. We'll go into that later. So Gustavo, what do you prefer to do?
Well, it depends, right? And I say that because it really does depend on the buyer and a few factors. One is their comfort level, right? What is their comfort level? Some buyers say, I don't want the idea of having two mortgages, even if it's for a day. And some say, I would rather wait, which sometimes could unfortunately result in waiting for a long period of time. But it really depends on a few factors, right? Obviously, AC and and PC, as you called it, it has to do a lot with has a lot to do with the market. Where right now we're in a position where we're in a seller's market, right? So we have to essentially accommodate to the seller. And that's why you want to have, as much as possible, all your ducks in a row, or for that matter, you want to have all your financing in place of what you want to do, whatever it is that you want and whatever makes you comfortable and happy at the end of the day, right? Um, so buying first is going to allow you to not have to worry about the other debt. But in the event, what if, in the event that obviously you fall in love, you find a property that you fall in love with, well, now guess what? Selling first may not be in priority if we're in a seller's market and we're in competition. So we're gonna have no choice but to go ahead and do everything possible to buy the property before we sell our current property at the first, right?
Mhm.
And so what does that entail on my end? Well, there are different programs without, and we're not going to get into all the details, of course, but there are different programs where you can do a bridge loan, you can do a line of credit, or if you just so happen to have extra cash laying around, or a very um, healthy bank account, well, that's going to help you get over this little hump as much as possible, as easy as possible. And so on my end, it really, like you said, does come down to the financing and what you're able to, as a buyer, to take care of.
Correct. I do agree with that. Um, so if you are in this situation, you're probably thinking, well, I don't know what to do. What do I do? I do have a lot of clients that I've helped over the years that are now coming across this bridge because I put them in houses and now they've outgrown them. They were their first time homes. So now they're coming to me and be like, John, I want to upgrade. I got married. We had babies, got dogs, So what do I do? Now, I will have a consult with the client, and if it is one of those situations, only benefits them if I have Gustavo on the consult with us, so we can talk about all options. In this market, what is probably going to be the easiest for the buyer is, like Gustavo said, using some of the programs that might be available, using the finances. The line of credit has been a big one that we have been able to tap in a few times. The easiest route truly to go in this current market is to buy first and then we sell afterwards. So that would be your first step. If you're thinking about what do I need to do, reach out to me and then we could sit down and strategize about, where you are financially. Like Gustavo said, go over your options, your financial options, and then we can talk about the market. One thing though that people also need to realize is that, if they choose to go the other route where they would like to, well, I shouldn't even say that. If they want to buy first, I do have a client right now who we have her house currently on the market, and she is able to buy without selling her current home. The problem though is that she feels, to your point, Gustavo, earlier, she feels comfortable having an offer on that house first and then buy because she's afraid of having two mortgage payments. Even though she can afford it, she just doesn't want to do it. So a lot of times we come across the mental side of everything, the mindset. So that's why it's also very important to come and sit down and talk with us, because a lot of people forget that when we do have a closing, sometimes your payment's not even due for another month and a half. And in the seller's market, it's very easy to sell your home within 30 days. Do you want to also, well, and here's another thing too. Another fantastic thing about when you buy first, we close, and then you sell your home, Gustavo has this great program where you can recast, which is awesome for buyers because a lot of times they're like, well, I want to use the equity from my old home to put towards my new home. You can still do that and buy first. Tell us, Gustavo,
Right.
what is recast?
No, I mean, you said it exactly, right? Making sure we get over the hump of, hey, I don't want to have two mortgages forever. And so, there are times where we can get a buyer approved. Let's kind of run through a quick scenario, right? We get the buyer approved, not contingent on home sale, so they can buy first. But as soon as we go into contract, the house is ready, the house is prepared, and it goes live within less than a week, sometimes within 3 days of the accepted offer of the new property. And
Mm-hmm.
so, as you said, yes, we have, I always like to say plan A, plan B, and plan C, right? Plan A is, let's assume that worst case scenario, we buy the house and we're stuck with the other house even for an extra day, right? Plan B is, well, let's have a bridge loan or let's have some sort of, interim financing in the meantime. Plan three would be, hey, let's buy this house and let's hurry up and put it in the market. And as you said, right, in the seller's market, we're going to be able to help. You're going to be able to help sellers sell, and you'd be surprised how many times we're going to be able to actually sell their home before we even close on it, or saying simultaneously where the bridge loan or the HELOC or getting a gift from grandpa is not even coming to play, right? If that were to be the
Mhm.
case. And so that's where, having a consult and having a plan of attack is really going to be the best strategy up front. I mean, just like anything, right? You got to prep, you got to plan, and you got to hope for the best, and do what you got to do to make it happen. And we, as your consultants, if you will, are going to help you, guide you through that process. And at the end of the day, we always, you and I both say the same thing. We're never going to convince or try to make somebody make a decision that they're not comfortable with. Our
Right.
job is to give them the options. Our job is to give them solutions and let them decide what is it that they want to do, and more importantly, how do they want to go about it, right?
And you actually bring up a really good point um, before describing recast, but you brought up a really good point that I even think about. It is so true what you said. We could have an accepted offer. So Gus and I are in a situation right now. Before I got on, I found out our offer was accepted. So, and that is a situation where we're going to recast the loan, but they have to close on their current home. They're selling in a different state and then they're buying here. So being aware of that situation, I now know that for closing, I'm going to strategically say that closing on a new house is going to be, let's say, 32 days, because I know that their current house is going to close 2 days prior to that. So we are able to actually do that with some of the timelines. So even though we buy first and you decide to list shortly after we get that offer accepted, we can still line up the closing of your current home and the closing of your new home on the same day. We just need an hour or two in between so we can get the funds and transfer it right over to the new home. So some people don't realize that we could close a home within 25 days. And I could try to push the new home closing 30 days because we did it first, and then we sell the house, and I could say that's a 25-day closing and align them. So, I mean, that is another thing. Again, strategy. This is why we would talk prior to it, just to calm the nerves of clients that are like, well, I just don't want to be homeless and I don't want to be stuck with two payments. And we easily have so many ways of having you buy first without that home contingency and sell, and then have you all close on the same day. So then once we close on the new home and they close on the old home, now they have the net proceeds from their old home. So Gus, what can they do with that to apply it towards their new loan?
So a lot of people sometimes, not that they don't know, but maybe they're not educated. You meaning like their mortgage professional may not advise this, or even themselves may not realize that you can do what's called a recast. And a lot of people think, oh, well, am I going to be able to refinance? I'm like, well, it's not a refinance, right? It's basically a second down payment, or in this case, the proceeds from the sale after the fact, that you would be able to take this money and then put it as a second down payment against your new purchase. So if you initially put 5% down, but after you sell, you have 25% down, you will essentially have put 25% down all in after the dust settles, all the homes have all been sold. And then what you're going to basically have is a new monthly payment that's going to be equivalent to the lower balance. And obviously, your loan's going to be less and your payment's going to be less at the same time. It doesn't change the terms of the loan, meaning your rate's your rate, everything stays the same, other than the payment is recalculated to reflect whatever the new balance is. And that's called a recast. Now, yes, down the road, we can do a refinance if and when it makes sense financially and the rates cooperate with us. We can definitely do a refinance, but that is a change of terms, which we wouldn't be doing that right now. We would just be doing a recast, and many of our clients are doing this recast option.
Mm-hmm.
If they do have equity in their home. Again, going back to the first options, if we can access that equity in their current home before they sell it via a line of credit, and their incomes can support not only the current home but the new home and the line of credit, then they can tap into equity ahead of time and help them with the purchase. And then once their home sells, then any debt associated with that property goes away as well, right? So there are different options. It just depends on what makes the most sense. With that being said, we always recommend every buyer, as soon as they're able to, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, a year after buying their home, as soon as you qualify for a line of credit, take it, get one. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of a nest egg, access to quick cash if you need it for remodeling, emergencies, and we all know 0 times 0 is what, Jen?
0.
Exactly. If you don't use it, you do not pay anything on it. So it's really
Yeah, it
something
sits
that
there.
everybody should have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a friend right now who he just got his new AC installed today. So imagine if you're a brand new homeowner and you've been living in your home, you bought it in December, now you're in July, and you didn't tap into it's a HELOC, home equity line of credit, and now your AC went and it's $5,000, and you may not have that on you right away. Having that HELOC, I have one on my house. It has helped me put on a new roof, a new concrete driveway, a new HVAC, new water heater. So it has gone to my house. But it's nice to know that I have that cushion there, because when you're a homeowner, maintenance happens, stuff happens. You have to have a cushion, because you can't just call your landlord and say, hey, I need to replace this or have this repaired. So I do agree with that advice. And I know that Gus and I are both talking about how we're just huge advocates for let's buy first and then sell, just because it calms clients down. You have a new place to move into. You don't have to fear that you're homeless. But let's talk about real quickly if that's not an option. There are some situations where the client has to sell first. And then once we have an accepted offer on that home, we now have to hit the ground running and find a new home. So when a situation like that happens, we do have some options. The main one is we do what we call post-occupancy. And so we will ask the seller, hey, we want to have an accepted offer, or excuse me, they're being the seller. So we would ask the buyer of that home, hey, we need post-occupancy. Can we still have it for the next 30, 45 days? If they say yes, that gives us 30 to 45 days to find a new home for them. The downside of all this is the amount of stress is huge, because it is a seller's market. And some buyers may find themselves settling because they need to find a home. So that's why we sometimes stay away a little bit from trying to sell first and then buy, because I don't want you guys to ever fall into a situation where you hate your home but you had to move. And if that is the only option, then I would suggest trying to find short-term rental. Or I have another client who their friend has a space above their garage, like a little apartment that she's going to move into until she finds the next home. So, Gus, what are your thoughts on when clients have to do that?
Well, actually, that's, let's not skip over too much over the fact that we are in a seller's market. So
Mm-hmm.
as a seller, you have more control than you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where
Absolutely.
if it comes down to that, and kind of like a side note, on the mortgage side of things, when a buyer buys a home, if you read the mortgage note, it says you have to legally move in within 60 days, right? Take ownership, right? So that's where the post occupancy could come back and be like, oh, no, that's not good. Because if you have post occupancy for 61 days or 90 days, for example, any underwriter is going to say, wait, that's not valid. That goes against the rules, right? So we can do a
45 days
combination of
max.
45 days max, exactly. But we can use a combination of two things. One, the combination of, hey, let's do a extended closing,
Mm-hmm.
or extended closing and post occupancy if we absolutely need it. And the hope and the idea is that the seller is going to, compromise, but as well as the buyer is going to compromise. But as long as it's a win-win for everybody, that's where we can give them options, because the last thing you want is for your seller who becomes a buyer now feel forced to purchase a home that they don't like. And obviously nobody wants that either, right? But that's where, being in the seller's market that we're in right now, your seller who's going to become a buyer has the ability to dictate, to a certain degree, of course, all within reason, how and when they want to structure it. And that's why you're going to also facilitate that and negotiate on their behalf as well, right? But on the mortgage side of things, it makes things much easier. It does make things much easier, obviously, if everything happens sooner rather than later, but we can work things out. We can lock in rates if we want to for 60, 90 days if we needed to. We obviously don't want to lock in rates that long because that's too far into the future. But all these things being pretty much options that we give clients, right?
Right.
So that's what I say. I say selling is not necessarily a bad thing if need be.
No, and at the end of the day, just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, at the end of the day, we can help in whatever scenario, right? We can guide you guys through selling first, then buying, or buying first and then selling. We have the tools to do it. Gus and I love to strategize and come up with different scenarios that work for everybody, that are unique, that kind of puts our offer above everybody's by being unique about it. And we can help you guys out through any scenario. The number one thing to do, though, is when you guys are thinking about it, is to reach out to us first, so we can run through your scenarios, your financials, and figure out what is the best move for you. It is worth saying, though, it is a seller's market, so it's probably easier to buy first and then sell, because currently it's harder to find a new home than it is to sell your home. It's 100% doable, but we want to make sure that the house that you find is the one that you truly want, that's going to be your forever home if you're a second or third home buyer, versus one that you just need to put your stuff in because you were going to be homeless.
Right.
So, all right. Our next one is going to be in mid-July, because as we mentioned before, we are doing these monthly during the summer market, or during the summer month. And then also, just to let you guys know, just to mention this, you guys are currently on Instagram. So if you want to get a hold of me on Instagram, my handle is Jennifer Strelka, WI Realtor. And so feel free to look up my profile, reach out to me. You can DM me. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see the spelling of my last name, Strelka. So feel free to look me up. And then, Gustavo, what is your handle so people know how to get a hold of you?
Cream City Mortgage, obviously, is where we're located. And once you're inside Cream City Mortgage, you'll find everywhere and anywhere how to get a hold of me, of course, because I'm not going to lie to you, I don't remember my handle right now.
I'm going to surprise him with this one, but again, we're live, so anything happens. Just make sure, though, when you go on Cream City, you look up Gustavo. There's they do have a whole group of lenders that are working there, but I'm a little biased. I prefer Gus. So,
appreciate
all right.
that. Appreciate that, Jen. Well, thank you. Thank you again, everybody. Hopefully these are good topics. And like Jen said, if any other topics you guys have, please share with us. Otherwise, we'll see you in about a month after the holiday.
Yeah, so just look for the advertisements of the next one that's coming up. So have a good 4th of July, everyone. Enjoy Summerfest. Enjoy the weather once it gets sunny again. And we'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks, Jen.
Bye.